I grew up in a house where the Irish Examiner and as it was known then, the Evening Echo they were just part and parcel of the house. They were bought every day, both papers. It was telling the stories about the people that we knew, that we grew up with. You know, the Examiner and the Echo were just part and parcel of everyday life. Information flows in through one part of the building, through the reporters and through the photographers. It then goes through the production process and the quality checking process. And there's a whole hidden army of people that are involved in pulling together a newspaper and two newspapers every day. We have to check, double check and triple check. We have to give people about whom we're writing a right to reply and a right to respond. And once we're satisfied that we have got our story done, we then submit it to our news desk, and there's an army of people there whose job it is to check what we've written. Once the story then goes to the layout process, again, there's an army of sub-editors there. They're there to make sure that we don't get anything wrong. They're there to spot our mistakes. We work with photographers, we work with page designers, we work with headline writers, with caption writers, and all of that has to come together before anything is published either online or in print. And sometimes you have people screaming online for us to print something, and why didn't you do it, and why hasn't it been done faster? And the reason is because we're doing our jobs. We're checking the information so that we're able to stand over what we publish. It's over a period of weeks and months and sometimes years that you begin to build up your network of contacts. And I suppose without contacts, really, journalists can't do their job. We're nothing without the people that talk to us. That's kind of how it works, really. Like I said, you're really only as good as your last story. And if you can do justice by people, by the contacts that talk to you, by the people that tell you their stories, then, those contacts become solidified. They hopefully trust you. And then hopefully more people come to you and want to tell you their stories. Well, a lot of the stories that I've covered over the years have stayed with me because they have had an impact. One that really stays with me, and I think will always stay with me, was being given the privilege to meet the Ben Halfhalf twins, who were born joined at the chest in late 2009. One of our photographers, Dennis Minahan, and myself were privileged to go down to the Ben Halfhalf house and to meet the boys' parents. I was allowed to hold the boys when they were just 3 months old. And we sort of followed them on their journey for their first few months as they faced into that marathon surgery in London to separate them. I remember back in 2015 being invited down to see the boys as they walked in to their first day in school, independently and each holding each other's hand. And that's a moment that will stay with me for a long, long time. I remember covering the sinking of the T Bonhomme, a trawler that sank after running aground at the entrance to Union Hall with the loss of 5 men. I was down at the pier for the first couple of days when the recovery operation was underway, and to see how the people of Union Hall responded to that immense tragedy, setting up field kitchen on the pier, feeding the hundreds of volunteers who came day after day, week after week, until all of the bodies of all of the men were recovered. Again, that is something that will stay with me for a long time. I also remember covering the Manx 2 plane crash at Cork Airport. Again, thanks to contacts, I was the first journalist to make it into Cork Airport, and I was able to feed back live information from the scene to our news desk. Seeing the emergency services and their response that day is something that will stay with me for a long time. I just get a kick out of doing the job, It's nice to be first with the news. You always have that kind of competitive edge. You're always looking to be first to break stories and then seeing where the stories go once you break them. We live in a world today where we can write about something that happened in Cork at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it can be reported by Australian websites, less than 25, 30, 40 minutes later. And you get a great kick out of seeing stories that you have worked on kind of going global. I suppose the bottom line really is just telling people's stories, giving a voice to people who wouldn't otherwise have a voice. That's the job.